Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to ReZero, Season 2, Episode 17. So, last time, Amelia has met Echidna, and that's kind of where it left off. But Amelia is finally going back into the trials, so we're going to kind of have to see what happens here. But Garfield also had some revelations and is now more on our side again. We just have to hope everything doesn't reset, so Subaru doesn't have to do all of that again. But it just seems like it'd be weird for everything to reset at this point. I feel like we're on the path of doing a, like, I don't know how to word it. I feel like this all is going to stick, and then we'll probably do some more resets with whatever comes next. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from this section here of the arc. But we'll see. But yeah, it's just, last episode was a lot of character growth for Gar, and there's been a lot of character growth starting off this half of the season. So I'm ready to actually get into shit, and hopefully this episode will do that. So we're just going to get started, hope for the best, and see what this has in store for us. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this was an interesting episode, but before we get to the main content, I just want to say that little intermission we had showing Subaru, Otto, Garfield, all of that felt extremely out of place. Considering it was only for like maybe a minute long, and everything else in this episode was focused entirely on Amelia's backstory and this big information we're getting. It felt so extremely out of place, so out of left field to include that in there. And I don't know how it's done in the light novel, obviously. I've never read the light novel or anything, but so I don't know how that's done in there. I don't know if that just is interjected in the middle there as well. But it just felt so out of place to include it there. It didn't even add anything. It's like, yeah, it implies that Subaru is about to have some important conversations about freeing the sanctuary and everything, and that's cool. But it didn't give anything to this episode. In fact, it actually cut away from the stuff that was focused on, which caused a little bit of a distracting feeling. Like, it felt like it was so out of place that it broke the immersion of the rest of the episode. And I really feel like it would have been better, the episode as a whole, if it didn't have that. I feel like that entire segment did not need to be there, and it just was a distracting waste of time, almost, you could say. Sorry for the noises outside, by the way. Can't help what the neighbor does. But let's actually talk about the episode itself, like what actually happened during it. So, as part of the next trial, Amelia faces some memories from her past. She's a lot more resolved this time. She's a lot more prepared to head into this. But during this, she actually comes face to face with Echidna, who just takes the opportunity to berate her and hate on her the entire time. But answer questions if she's asked, because that's just who she is, I guess. She'll answer questions if she's asked them. So they're going throughout these memories, and we see that as a young girl, Amelia was raised by her aunt because her parents weren't around. They were apparently really busy or whatnot. So her aunt, who she referred to as Mother Fortuna, raised her. She seemed to be raised mostly, from what we can tell, away from the rest of the village. You have this village of half elves and all, but she was kind of raised away from it in this little tree house, basically, like a literal like playhouse made out of a tree. And it's really well done. It almost kind of reminds me of the Keebler elf house, or in the trees and all you see on the commercials and everything. It makes me think of that. But it's this really cute little place, and it seems that everything's cool there. But Amelia soon realizes she can speak to a lesser spirit, although she doesn't know what it is at first and thinks it's a fairy, because she's a kid. So she and this lesser spirit begin talking, begin communicating, and it even helps her find a way to get out of there without opening the door, basically. She's able to get out and able to go and spy on everything happening down at the village. And that's when she sees that her aunt, Mother Fortuna, is interacting with this group of people who are bringing a bunch of supplies and stuff. And they are led by Bishop Goose Romanicanti, who, as we know, somewhere down the line ends up becoming Petal Goose, the Sin Archbishop of Sloth of the Witches Cult. We don't know how that transformation happens exactly. We can make guesses, we can kind of just go off of some ideas and everything, but we don't actually have confirmation yet. At least not where I'm at in the series, obviously. So we see that he seems like a great guy, a really nice guy. We also know from before that Beatrice knew him. So I wonder if we're going to see Beatrice at any point in these flashbacks. But we see that he's this nice guy. He's helping out the village and everything, but he's also asking about this seal, and we don't know the deal with the seal yet. It's just this big locked door in the middle of a field, basically in the middle of a clearing in the forest. And we don't know what it's sealing or what it's about, but just that it's there. And he's also asking about Amelia, who at one point he also mentions he shouldn't come in contact with. But it's never explained exactly why. So maybe we'll find that out as we go along too. Either way, Amelia keeps sneaking out, and eventually she ends up coming across Goose at one point. And eventually it seems Mother Fortuna forgives her for sneaking out and everything, but it just seems like things are going well until the Sin Archbishop of Greed arrives. It's been quite a while since we've seen Regulus Cornelius. Have we seen him since the beginning of the season? I don't remember. Possibly. But he is definitely a character I've wanted to know more about. And so I'm glad we're getting him again here. Now, I don't know what he's about to do or what's about to happen, but I'm definitely interested to see how this all is involved in the past. And according to Echidna, basically everything up to this point had been preparation, basically, for the really heavy shit that's about to go down. So the fact that we do have Regulus coming in kind of implies that, yeah, it's gonna go down. Shit's really about to hit the fan. And I'm really fascinated to see what that is. Like, that was a really good note to end off on, because it's like we know who Regulus is, and even if we didn't remember for whatever reason, he introduces himself as a Sin Archbishop and all. So it's like we know what that means, and we know that's bad. So I wonder if something he's going to do here is going to be what causes Goose to eventually become Petal Goose. Is he going to somehow recruit Goose into the witches cult right here and now? Or technically back in the past, but you know what I mean. It's interesting to guess about this kind of stuff. And speaking of Goose, I mentioned already he seemed like a very nice guy and all, and it's like that. There's been some hints this season and everything that have made Petal Goose out to be a tragic character, and it's really throwing me off because of just how Petal Goose was in season 1. The pure insanity and everything of his character. So finding out that he's kind of tragic like this is wild to me. But we see that he was a normal bishop at some point, and that through some manner he ends up getting involved with the witches cult, probably through Regulus, and that he ends up becoming a Sin Archbishop himself, and it physically changes him. Like, it physically changes his appearance somehow. Drastically, too. Really, the only thing that's the same about him is the green hair. But we see that we have seen that Beatrice knew him and seemed very sad about his fate and everything. Like, she seemed to care about him. And considering how Beatrice normally can tend to be, seeing her so sad over someone is actually a big deal. Outside of it maybe being Puck because of her love for Puck. And now we see that he was friends and possibly a love interest to Mother Fortuna, and even kind of became friends with Amelia herself back then. And it's just like you feel bad for this dude. Whatever happened to him, you feel bad that he ended up becoming as crazy as he was. This normal, nice, helpful guy was lost to insanity. And it's sad. It genuinely is. And the fact that they're giving this kind of development to this character is wild. Because it's like you see him in season 1, and you see him as just like, oh, this dude is hilarious. He's absolutely insane, but he's fucking hilarious about it. And the voice actor does an amazing job, and you enjoy his character very much. But at the same time, that's all he pretty much is. He's a psychotic, evil murderer. And you don't expect anything more than that, because that's really all you need him to be in that regard. It's like you're not expecting some kind of backstory for Elsa or anything, but now maybe she might get one too. I wouldn't mind that, though. I really like Elsa. And yes, partially because she's hot. But also because she just fascinates me. So I wouldn't mind a backstory to see like what makes her tick too. But the point is, you didn't expect a backstory with Petal Goose because it's just like you didn't need one. It just wasn't necessary to enjoy his character. But giving that backstory to him helps develop him in a way that makes him more, in a way, interesting. That makes him more fascinating and, again, tragic. And that's something that we never really wanted, we never really thought about ever getting. But you can't be upset at it, because it expands upon things in such a really well done manner that it's just that you just can't be upset about it. You're just surprised. um and so far Amelia has been handling this like a boss. She's been just powering through it all and has been doing well. But if this is about to go down, if the shit's really about to hit the fan and it's where it gets really hard, I'm concerned for her, but I'm still gonna trust that she can do this. I'm still gonna put faith in her, just like Subaru, and trust that she can do this, that she can fight her way through whatever's about to happen. And I still stand by that this arc has lasted way too long. This arc with the sanctuary and everything is just, it's too much. But at the same time, I will acknowledge that there are parts of the arc that make it almost kind of worth it. Episodes like this, that outside of, again, the just random return to Subaru and everything that was out of place, that outside of that, this episode was fantastic, and it did a lot of great stuff for Amelia's character and just world building even. And it's this kind of stuff that I really look forward to. So to see this kind of stuff just put in here at random points, it almost kind of makes the long dragging out of this arc a little bit worth it, at least. Maybe not entirely, but at least a little bit. It is definitely still very dragged out, and that is kind of annoying. But hopefully we just continue to have the really good stuff here. Excuse me. And make sure that what we're doing at this moment just continues to be this good. That's my biggest hope. And I'm very excited to see what happens next with Regulus. And just what happened that really bothered Amelia so much. We'll find out. In the meantime, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of ReZero Season 2? And just leave any and all thoughts down there. For now, though, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.